Absolutely. Nice to meet you, Mario. Thanks for having me, brother.
Cool. Well, first of all, let me tell you something before talking about Leave a Light On, because I had the chance to be in the shooting of the video for Ego Trip when you made it here in Mexico City. Yeah, it was so awesome, man. And I do want to know, how was it that day for you?
Oh, I had so much fun. I had such a great time. That was such a great day, such a great shoot, and just the energy of everybody being in the house, especially at the House of Bands, right? That skate joint. It was like in the skate park. It was like it just was a vibe.
It was an amazing days for all of us, believe me.
Oh yeah, I'd love to do it again.
Hope you do it again. Well, Jacoby, now let's talk about what we're here right now, and it's Leave a Light On, which is a very important song, I believe, for Papa Roach career for many, several things. The first thing that I do want to ask you is, how did you make the decision to include this song, that the royalties go to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention? And yeah, and if you also know that about the results this campaign already have done.
Yeah. So we our music has been talking about mental health since the beginning, right? Since our first song, Last Resort, it was that song was a cry for help, which started a conversation years ago. And so this has kind of been one of the threads: mental health and the issues of the mind and the struggle, and how do I work through my pain and process, hurt and all these things. I've done it through music. And so Leave a Light On, this song is a response. It's saying like, I'm here for you. I got your back. I know life's going to get tough. Like, I know you might feel lonely, but I'm here. I got you. And that message is important. And we saw, once we released the album, we saw the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention had a campaign called Talk Away the Dark. And our song is called Leave a Light On. And through talk therapy myself, I've I've been able to overcome a lot of demons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I found a lot of healing and growth from that. And so it felt like this natural, our song's called Leave a Light On. Their campaign is Talk Away the Dark. It's like, it's perfect. And so we wanted to give back. It's good. We've come to a point in our career, like I've been doing this thing since I was a kid, right? I got to quit my normal job back in the year 1999 so I could do this. And I've been doing this ever since. And the fans have given to me, right? So how do
Yeah.
I give back? And this is my way to give back. And their cause and the work that they're doing here in America is amazing. And they're helping people. They're helping with services, counseling, therapy, services for people that have lost people, bereavement therapy, group therapy. It's such a great movement and we've realized, right? This this isn't just an American problem. This is a human condition, right? How do we take this beyond just where we're living right here? How do we take this movement and this story and this cause to other countries and other people? Because we know we got P. Roach fans all over the world, right? And so how do we raise awareness? How do we help destigmatize the conversation around mental health to where we can tackle these things so we don't have to then harm each other and we don't have to harm ourselves? You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
a better way, right? And there's healing, and music can bring healing, and it can bring hope and inspiration. And that, to me, like, that's what this cause and this movement is about.
You mentioned how music can reach people for hope.
Oh,
Have you ever been reached by a fan with their own personal story telling you, hey, Jacoby, Papa Roach music did this to me. My life got better thanks to your
yeah.
music. Do you have any experiences like those?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I'm on tour daily, I will have an experience like that with somebody where they will tell me that our music has spoke to them in their darkest hour, that our music has been a source of strength or inspiration. And wow, you know what I mean? Like that's fucking cool. Like I didn't intend that in the beginning. You know, I was just being honest, brutally honest about what was going on, what was happening. And then I go out into the world and meet all these people that have had similar experiences, that have found themselves in a dark place, but then reach for that. Like, I know there's something better for me. How do I find that in myself? How do I cut away these things in my life that are destroying me to then get to the better me, right? Like that's been my experience. And I've had to unlearn a lot of things. I've had to like have a lot of really tough conversations with myself and take accountability for my actions, you know? And so sometimes when I think I'm not always the victim, right? That's kind of where what I've learned about myself too, is it's like some of these mental health struggles I bring upon myself, right? You know what I mean? Like, and sometimes depression is depression, but sometimes my sadness stems from me just being an asshole. You know what I mean? And so, but it's that mental health conversation of finding those things and growing and learning. Yeah, I talk a lot.
I love when you talk a lot. But yeah, it's really hard always to recognize your own mistakes, your own faults, the things that you're not doing right with your life. And I believe it's very admirable what you have done with yours.
Well, because when you're lost in the dark, you can't see those things. You know what I'm saying? It's like recognizing that you're lost in the dark is the beginning of this, and then eventually you turn the light on and you see everything's a mess, and then you go, all right, now it's time to work on these things. I can deal with that one thing at a time, one day at a time, one good choice at a time. You know what I mean? And just that was my story, right? I just had to make one more good decision to then have all these things together that were positive on my life that I could look at and go, all right, I'm doing good. I'm doing better. You know what I mean? And so it's interesting how life works like that.
At the beginning, you mentioned something that very interesting that I've been thinking about that is that since the beginning of Papa Roach, this is a topic that you mention a lot. And if you go back to the mid-90s, late 90s, early 2000s, you see all those bands, not only Papa Roach, but also Linkin Park, Korn, Deftones, and they have a very similar approach to this kind of themes. Why do you think these, all these bands were connected by these very similar stories back in the day?
I think there was Jonathan Davis from Korn was one of the guys early on that inspired me in the way that he was not ashamed to show his brokenness, right? And allow his brokenness to be on display. And I had broken pieces in me from my childhood, these really wounded parts of me where I felt lost and alone and broken. And it was in a way, like the way that he displayed that in his music inspired me to dig within myself and go, I need to work through these things. I need to, I'm still, this young man that's dealing with like daddy issues, right? Because I come from a broken home and this broken relationship and this sense of like loss, and how do I come to terms with that, right? Writing a song like Broken Home was my way to like unravel that really tough conversation and come to a point where like I sat with my biological father and I just told him, I was like, I love you, man. Like no matter what, no matter if you don't know how to show me how you love me, I need to express to you that I'm like, I love you no matter what, come to find out he was just afraid, and it opened up all these conversations that then became healing for both me and my father. Right. And so dudes like Jonathan Davis, where they were exposing their brokenness, allowed me to then dig in myself and put that into a song and then be able to tell a story like that to you right now. You know what I mean? It's trippy how that stuff works.
Well, let's thank Jonathan for doing that on the first place.
Interesting, right? Like, because when I think back to those artists, like he was really one of those guys because they made tough, like aggro, heavy music, but he was just so raw and vulnerable that it really was, it was cool. Chino had a vibe too, but his was like cool. Chino from Deftones, he was like the cool guy. He had like a suave vibe, you know what I mean? Whereas Jonathan was just, he was just broken. He was broken, tortured. I identified with that.
Best imitations ever. Well, Jacoby, now let's move to the present, because also talking about Leave a Light On, nowadays we're getting more consciousness and more awareness about mental health issues. But the truth is that also more people is getting depressed all the time these days. Why do you feel this is happening right now?
I'll tell you, way too much. I would say for me, when it's hard, I don't want to talk about other people's lives, but I will. Fuck it. I think way too much time on way too much screen time. What you're allowing into your life. How are you allowing the world, the screen in front of you to program you? What are you allowing into your life? What messages are you allowing into your life? What ideas? What are your influences in your circles of people? But this screen thing is a big part of keeping people in their seats, which then you're not physically active. You know what I mean? And then you're not, I think there's a multitude of things. I think it's in the food. I think it's, sugar is killing our minds, like the amount of sugar. And so it's a layering effect of all these things that I think are adding to an unhealthy mind and an unhealthy spirit. And it's just a symptom of a bigger sickness, really and truly. And so now that we have this ability to take accountability for ourselves individually, right? Because that's what we all want, is to be able to have our rights as people over ourselves. We have to take responsibility, personal responsibility for ourselves. And if we're struggling, I have to, right? Like when I get in a dark place, it's because I'm eating way too much sugar. I'm watching way too many wacky things, spending way too much time on the internet, not being physically active. And then I sit and I do what's called, it's in the medical term, it's called ruminate, right? Where all you do is you think about your problems on a loop in your head, which then that becomes a trap. And that place takes you to the darkness, which then awakens hopelessness. And I do not want to awaken hopelessness. You know what I mean? But I think there's a lot of reasons why people are struggling. And also I think the families that are broken, the struggle in a family that's broken is one of the biggest ones, right? And now more than ever, families are falling apart. And that, to me, there's a lot of reasons why we're broken, but I'm here to inspire, like, we don't have to stay that way. We can
Trust
heal.
me, you have inspired many. I'm telling you, you've been right here with me since high school days. So
Look at this. Look at this. I'll show you this. This is my triple platinum plaque for Infest.
Oh, fuck. It's amazing.
Thanks for picking one of those up, bro. The little guy, right? It's the little guy. I got a bigger one out there, but this is my little guy.
But it's as cool. Jacoby, I believe time's over for us, but thank you very much for sharing these thoughts with me. I hope I can talk with you again some other time, but meanwhile,
absolutely.
have a nice day.
We'll put it together again, Mario. Much love, brother.